June 22, 1941. Operation Barbarossa. 3 million German soldiers pour across the Soviet border, and with them comes a mechanical beast that would terrorize Europe, the Panzer. Let's begin with a tank that defies Hollywood stereotypes. When you think of German tanks, you probably picture Tigers and Panthers. But the real backbone of the Wehrmacht? Meet the Panzer IV, the only German tank to remain in continuous production from 1937 until the very end of the war in 1945. The story of the Panzer IV is the story of adaptation. Originally designed in 1936 by the brilliant Heinz Guderian, the father of blitzkrieg tactics, it wasn't meant to fight other tanks at all. Armed with a short-barreled 75mm howitzer, its job was simple: blow up enemy fortifications and support infantry while the lighter Panzer III dealt with enemy armor. Initial specifications were modest: 20 tons, 14.5mm of armor on the hull, 20mm on the turret. The Maybach HL 108TR engine pushed it to a maximum speed of 31 kilometers per hour, about 19 miles per hour. It carried a crew of 5, commander, gunner, loader, driver, and radio operator. And then came 1940, the invasion of France. German tankers faced French Char B-1 Bis and British Matilda tanks whose armor their guns simply couldn't penetrate. The Panzer IV's short gun was effective against fortifications, but in tank-on-tank combat, it was outmatched. But here's where German engineering flexibility saved the day. In 1942, the Panzer IV underwent the most important transformation of any tank in the war. The short 75mm howitzer was replaced with a long-barreled, high-velocity 75mm KBB-Doke 40L43 anti-tank gun. This new variant, the AUSF F2, could penetrate a Soviet T-34 at ranges beyond 1,000 meters, sometimes up to 1,600 meters. Suddenly, the support tank became a tank killer, and Germany had a winner. Between 1937 and 1945, approximately 8,500 to 9,000 Panzer IVs were produced, more than any other German tank. Think about that. More than the Tiger, more than the Panther. The Panzer IV carried the Wehrmacht through the entire war. It fought in Poland, France, North Africa, the Eastern Front, Italy, and Normandy. As newer, more powerful tanks like the Panther and Tiger entered service, the Panzer IV didn't fade away. It adapted. Extra armor plates were bolted on. Protective skirts called Schürzen were added to defend against anti-tank weapons. By 1943, it was the single most important tank in the German arsenal. And its legacy? After the war, Syria acquired Panzer IVs from France and Czechoslovakia. Some were still in service as late as 1967, more than 20 years after the war ended. The Panzer IV wasn't the most famous German tank. It wasn't the most feared. But it was the most reliable, the most produced, and arguably the most important. The true workhorse of the Panzer divisions. Now, let's talk about the Panzer IV's partner in crime, the Panzer III. If the Panzer IV was designed to support infantry, the Panzer III had one job: kill enemy tanks. Entering production in 1937, it was originally armed with a 37mm anti-tank gun. At about 20 tons with a crew of 5, it was slightly lighter than the Panzer IV. Its Maybach 12-cylinder, 300-horsepower engine gave it a top speed of 40 kilometers per hour, 25 miles per hour. About 100 Panzer IIIs fought in Poland, and around 350 participated in the invasion of France in 1940. They performed adequately against lighter tanks, but when they encountered heavily armored French and British tanks, problems emerged. Then came June 1941, Operation Barbarossa. German panzer divisions smashed into the Soviet Union expecting to face outdated equipment. Instead, they met the T-34, a tank that would change everything. German tank commanders were shocked. The T-34's sloped armor deflected their shots. Its 70cm gun could penetrate their armor at ranges where they couldn't fight back. The KV-1 heavy tank was even worse. None of the guns on German tanks could reliably penetrate its thick armor. The Germans responded by upgrading the Panzer III with a more powerful 50mm gun. Later versions received an even more powerful long-barreled 50mm gun. Some late production models were even equipped with the 75mm gun from the Panzer IV. Approximately 15,000 Panzer IIIs were produced in various configurations. But by 1943, it was clear the design had reached its limits. The hull and turret were too small to accommodate more powerful guns and thicker armor. Production ended in mid-1943, but the story didn't end there. The Panzer III chassis became the foundation for one of the war's most successful vehicles, the Stug 3 assault gun. Over 9,400 Stug 3s were built, making it the most produced German armored fighting vehicle of the entire war. The Panzer III served on every front, from the deserts of North Africa to the frozen tundra of Russia. It wasn't as famous as the tanks that came after it, but in the critical early years of the war, it was Germany's primary tank killer. Now we enter the realm of legends. The Panzer V Panther, arguably the best tank Germany ever produced. November 1941. A German commission visits the Eastern Front to examine captured Soviet T-34 tanks. They're stunned by what they see: sloped armor that deflects shots, wide tracks that don't bog down in mud, and a long-barreled gun that outranges anything Germany has. General Heinz Guderian suggests a radical idea: just copy the T-34 and put it into production. But German pride won't allow it. Instead, two companies, Daimler-Benz and MAN, are contracted to design a German tank inspired by the T-34's best features. Daimler-Benz creates a design that looks almost identical to the T-34. MAN's design is more traditionally German, but incorporates the key innovations: sloped armor, large road wheels, and a powerful long-barreled gun. Hitler initially favors the Daimler-Benz design. But in May 1942, MAN wins the contract. Why? Their design could use existing turret designs, meaning faster production. Plus, the Daimler-Benz tank looked too much like a T-34. German tankers might accidentally shoot at each other. Production begins in January 1943. The initial goal, 250 tanks per month. The reality, only 143 per month on average in 1943. By 1944, with production spread across multiple factories, output climbs to 315 per month. The final product is magnificent. The Panther weighs 45 tons, heavy for a medium tank, but not nearly as heavy as the 60-ton Tiger. It's powered by a Maybach HL230 V12 engine, producing 700 horsepower, giving it a top speed of 55 kilometers per hour, 34 miles per hour. That makes it one of the fastest heavy tanks of the war. But the real star is the gun, the 75mm KWK-42 L70. This high-velocity cannon can penetrate virtually any Allied tank at ranges exceeding 1,500 meters. The Panther's frontal armor, 80mm thick and sloped at 55 degrees, is nearly impenetrable to most Allied anti-tank guns. July 5, 1943. The Battle of Kursk, the greatest tank battle in history. Panthers make their combat debut alongside Tigers and Panzer IVs. And it's a disaster. Engines overheat and catch fire. Transmissions fail. Suspension systems collapse. In the first days of battle, more Panthers are lost to mechanical breakdowns than enemy fire. Of nearly 200 Panthers committed to battle, less than 50 remain operational within a week. But German engineers learn quickly. Design flaws are corrected. Crews receive better training. By late 1943, the Panther evolves into one of the most formidable tanks on any battlefield. On the Eastern Front, Panthers tear through Soviet armor. Allied intelligence reports indicate that Soviet tankers need an average of 9 T-34s to destroy one Panther. In Normandy, American Sherman crews discover their 75mm guns are nearly useless against the Panther's frontal armor. By the war's end, approximately 6,000 Panthers have been produced. At 117,100 Reichsmarks per tank, it's expensive, but still less than half the cost of a Tiger I Puris. It's the third most produced German armored vehicle after the Stu G3 and Panzer IV. The Panther's influence extends far beyond 1945. Post-war French forces used captured Panthers into the 1950s. More importantly, the Panther becomes the template for modern tank design: sloped armor, powerful gun, balance of firepower, protection, and mobility. Every modern main battle tank owes a debt to the Panther. And now, the tank that terrified an entire generation of Allied soldiers. The Panzerkampfwagen 6 Tiger the Fern. When Allied troops first encountered this beast in Tunisia in 1942, they faced something beyond their comprehension. A tank that weighed 60 tons, armor up to 100 mm thick on the front, nearly 4 inches of hardened steel, and armed with the legendary 80 mm gun. The Tiger's development began in 1937 when the German General Staff called for a breakthrough tank. But it wasn't until Hitler witnessed the French Char B and later learned of the Soviet T-34 and KV-1 that development accelerated. Two companies competed, Henschel and Porsche. Both created prototypes in 1942. Hitler favored Ferdinand Porsche's design. He even ordered 100 before testing was complete. But the Porsche design suffered from a complex electric transmission that was unreliable. Henschel wins the contract. Production starts in August 1942 at a rate of just 25 tanks per month. By April 1944, peak production reaches 104 per month. Each Tiger requires 300,000 man-hours to build, almost twice as long as a Panther. Cost, 250,000 Reichsmarks, more than twice a Panzer IV, 4 times a Stu G3. The Tiger I is powered by a Maybach HL 230 P45 5.412 engine, producing 700 horsepower. Despite its massive weight, it achieves a top speed of 38 km per hour, 24 miles per hour, on roads. It carries a crew of 5 in relative spaciousness compared to other tanks. But the crown jewel is the 80 mm K36 L56 gun, adapted from the famous 88 anti-aircraft gun that Allied troops already feared. This weapon can penetrate 112 mm of armor at 1,400 meters. In practical terms, a Tiger can destroy any Allied tank at ranges where Allied tanks can't even penetrate its armor. August 1942. 4 Tigers are deployed near Leningrad, and on their very first day, all 4 are knocked out. But not by enemy fire, by poor terrain and tactical misuse. They're sent single file through swampy ground. 3 are later recovered. But tactics evolve quickly. Tigers are organized into independent heavy tank battalions, Schwer Panzerabteilung. They're not meant to lead charges, but to provide fire support, using their superior range and armor to dominate the battlefield. The results are staggering. According to German records, Tigers destroy over 10,300 enemy tanks and 11,380 anti-tank guns and artillery pieces. The loss? 1,125 Tigers, including many lost to mechanical breakdown or abandonment rather than combat. June 13, 1944, Normandy, France. SS Obersturmführer Michael Wittmann commands a single Tiger the Fernbrust near Villers-Bocage. In 15 minutes, he destroys an entire British column, 25 tanks, 14 half-tracks, and 14 Bren gun carriers. This single action becomes the most famous Tiger engagement of the war. The Tiger creates what Allied commanders call Tiger phobia. British General Montgomery Bands reports mentioning Tiger successes, afraid of the impact on morale. American tankers develop elaborate tactics specifically for dealing with Tigers, most involving attacking from the sides where armor is weaker. But the Tiger has critical flaws. It guzzles fuel, consuming huge amounts of precious gasoline. Its weight means many bridges can't support it. The overlapping road wheels freeze in Russian winter conditions, immobilizing the tank. Most critically, mechanical reliability is poor. Transmission failures are common. Total production, just one 347 Tiger, is between August 1942 and August 1944. That's all. Compare that to over 50,000 Soviet T-34s or 49,000 American Shermans. The Tiger is too expensive, too complex, too slow to produce to change the war's outcome. But its legacy? Immeasurable. The Tiger I became the most famous tank of World War II. Today, only a handful survive. Tiger 131, captured in Tunisia, resides at the Tank Museum in England, the only fully operational Tiger Is in the world. When its engine starts, you can still hear the sound that once meant death was coming. If the Tiger I was terrifying, then its successor was a monster from another world. The Tiger II, Königstiger, King Tiger. Take everything that made the Tiger I feared and amplify it. More armor, a bigger gun, and a weight of nearly 70 tons, making it the heaviest tank to see large-scale production in World War II. Development begins in early 1943. Hitler wants a tank that can never be penetrated. German engineers deliver. The Tiger II combines the Tiger I's legendary armor protection with design lessons learned from the Panther, including sloped armor. The Tiger II's frontal armor is 150 mm thick and sloped, equivalent to over 200 mm of vertical armor. The turret front is an incredible 100 mm thick. To the Allied tankers facing it, the Tiger II is essentially invulnerable from the front. The gun? An 80mm KWK 43 L71, longer and more powerful than the Tiger I's gun. It can penetrate 200 mm of armor at 1,000 meters. There is no Allied tank it cannot destroy at any combat range. Power comes from the same Maybach HL-230P30 engine as the Panther, 700 horsepower. But now it's pushing 70 tons. Top speed, just 41 kilometers per hour on roads, and often much less in combat conditions. The Tiger II is not fast. Production starts in January 1944. Two turret designs exist, the initial Porsche turret with a rounded front and the Henschel turret with a sloped front used on most production models. The first Tiger IIs see combat in Normandy in July 1944. Allied troops are shocked. Their anti-tank guns bounce off harmlessly. Even the new British 17-pounder gun, the most powerful Allied anti-tank gun in Western Europe, struggles to penetrate the King Tiger's frontal armor. But Germany is dying. Allied bombers pound factories. Fuel is scarce. Spare parts don't exist. Many Tiger IIs are abandoned by their crews not because of enemy action, but because they run out of fuel or suffer mechanical breakdowns that can't be repaired. March 1945. The Battle of Remagen. A handful of Tiger IIs attempt to destroy the Ludendorff Bridge before American forces can cross the Rhine. They fail. One Tiger II is knocked out, another breaks down, a third runs out of fuel. Total production, just 492 Tiger IIs. That's it, fewer than 500 of history's most powerful tank. Each costs astronomical amounts of resources Germany no longer has. Each requires spare parts that no longer exist. Each needs fuel that can't be delivered. The Tiger II was the ultimate evolution of German tank philosophy. Bigger gun, thicker armor, overwhelming firepower. It was nearly invincible in single combat, but it was also too heavy, too slow, too complex, and too expensive. It arrived too late, in too few numbers, to matter. In many ways, the King Tiger represents everything wrong with late-war German tank development, engineering excellence divorced from strategic reality, a masterpiece of design that couldn't win a war. The last Tiger IIs surrender in May 1945. Some survive today in museums, monuments to engineering ambition and strategic failure. 5 tanks, each revolutionary in its own way. The Panzer IV, the reliable workhorse that never quit. The Panzer III, the tank killer that paved the way. The Panther, the game-changer that influenced tank design for decades. The Tiger I, the legend that terrified a generation. The King Tiger, the ultimate weapon that came too late. Together, these tanks formed the armored fist of Nazi Germany. They pioneered blitzkrieg tactics. They shattered armies. They killed hundreds of thousands. They served an evil regime in a war of aggression and genocide. But from a purely technical and historical perspective, they represent watershed moments in military technology. The lessons learned from German tank design, sloped armor, gun technology, suspension systems, crew ergonomics, influenced every tank that came after. Today's M1 Abrams, Leopard 2, and Challenger 2 all owe debts to innovations first seen on these German tanks. The Panther's sloped armor, the Tiger's powerful main gun, the focus on crew survivability and mechanical reliability learned from German failures. These machines now rest silent in museums around the world. They are not to be glorified. They served evil. But they must be studied, understood as both technological achievements and instruments of a terrible war. War drives innovation, often in the darkest ways. These tanks are reminders of that truth, monuments to engineering genius employed in humanity's darkest hour. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary informative, please like, subscribe, and share. Remember, those who cannot learn from history are doomed to repeat it.